Welcome to this latest episode of Candid Conversations. We're doing something special today. Guess what? We have our first sponsor for the show. We want to give a shout out right now to EGS Solutions. EGS Solutions is our official sponsor and partner for the Candid Conversations show that's brought to you by On the Vision Academy and One Institution. EGS Solutions is your go-to consulting firm for project management, brand strategy, web development, IT solutions, and graphic design. So if you are in the market for any of those services, hit up EGS Solutions, egsmgt.com for all your project management, brand strategy, web development, IT solutions, and graphic design needs. But what we came here today for, guys, this is going to be an amazing show. I have my friend, this is family. This is my brother, Craig White from TQ Financial Services. I trust this guy with my money. So we're going to bring him into the show.
Yeah.
Craig, what's up, buddy?
Nothing much, man. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, I'm always a supporter of everything you guys do. So it's finally a pleasure to finally sit down and have a good conversation with you about some money. You know,
so we go way back, right? We shoot 20 plus years now. Back in Tallahassee, we lived together. We broke bread together. We made money together. We lost money together. But, it's one of the things that they say, friends and money sometimes don't mix, but I trust this brother with my finances. He's been preparing our taxes for years. And one of the things that you want to do is have someone that you trust that's not going to take advantage of you, that's going to show you the ropes, and no better time, especially as we wind down this year, to start talking about how we prepare for the 2020 tax season into 2021. This has been a challenging year for many of us, and there's been some different things that folks are going through. So this is going to be a great opportunity to open for questions and answers, but to share for one of the industry's best at this process. And one thing I'll tell you, they're not just one of those fly-by-night companies. They've been in this game for a very long time. Even some of these major brands that you'll see, you'll go there and you'll see a high school student with their textbook trying to navigate through a system, and you're preparing your taxes and looking at your financial future. This is not one of those types of things. They're established. They actually have an office that you can go into. But not only that, they can do the work all around the country, and you can just reach out to them, and we'll get into that. We'll get into that. But before we get into that, Craig, your wife, you and your wife, you dedicated to supporting Black businesses, right? Mm-hmm. And you said something before we started the show about my shirt, Black owned and operated. So we want to give a shout out to this Black business, Good Friday. Right. Good Friday, BOO. And that BOO stands for Black Owned and Operated. They have some amazing shirts, hoodies. They're Christian-based company.
Amen.
They happen to be my family. Yeah. But, one of the things, just want to shout out what they are doing, all the great things that they have. And like I said, they're not even expensive, man. This shirt is $12.
That's super cheap, Jay. You don't have a thing too. That's love right there.
And it's great quality, right? I've already worn this before and washed it. So if you guys are in the market, I implore you guys to go out and support Good Friday, BOO.com. Some great folks, Good Friday company, but they have masks, they have hoodies, they have t-shirts, they have Scullies, all the things that you want. Great family owned and operated business. So guys, all of you out there, I need everyone that's going to listen to this live and listen to the recording to go out and buy something to support a small Black business.
It's the season though, man. It's like easiest gift you can give, man. The one that keeps giving. Shirts and pajamas or matching PJs was the number one product for this holiday season, and t-shirts and clothing was right behind. So how could you not? For that price point, you got to jump on that, man.
Awesome. So let's get right into it, right? We're getting ready for tax season. Are you prepared? I think the biggest elephant in the room that folks have been thinking about, and there's been a lot of misinformation about that. And one of the things you guys will be able to follow TQ Financial Services on all social medias at TQ Financial Services.
Right.
You're going to be able to reach out to them at their website. Their telephone number 800-413-1456, and you can shoot them an email at info@tqfinancials.com.
Yeah.
But one of the things, they're always dropping nuggets on social media, on their multiple platforms where they can tell you things. But one of the things that we think about, right? I got that stimulus check. What is happening when I file my taxes come January, February, whenever that is?
Right.
Is it minus the $1,200? What's going on? Let's start it off right there. What should people expect with receiving the stimulus check, and potentially if they do a stimulus check this weekend, it's in 2020?
The wonderful thing about the stimulus check is nothing really happens, Jason. The purpose or the thought behind the stimulus was, and I'm going to say this cautiously, it was an advance on this year's tax return. But that's what caused so much problems, was people automatically thought, okay, well, because it was an advance on the money that I was supposed to, or will God's willing receive, then it's going to be subtracted from my tax return when I file in 2021. No, it's not going to be subtracted from that. That's why they were requiring to see either your 2019, if you did not file that year, 2018, to say, hey, based on those conditions, we are qualifying you for whatever, 1,200 or less or more, depending if it's multiple people, married, filing jointly, children, etc. And that money is your money. End of story. There's, of course, other caveats, but again, nothing negative. If you file, or when you file in 2021, and the software is going to determine whether or not you are eligible for that stimulus check. If you were not, NOT, eligible for that stimulus check, absolutely nothing happens. There is no money that's getting withdrawn from your refund. You're not going to lose anything. The government chalks that up, clap it up, you guys won, and that's the end of it, right? If you are owed, because they determine, oh man, we either underpaid them or you didn't get anything at all, you will then receive the additional stimulus money that you did not receive for this year, literally in actual 2021, or 2020, when you file your 2021 taxes. So it's a win-win. If you didn't get it yet, you'll get it if you qualify when you file your taxes. If they gave it to you and you did not qualify, no harm, no foul. You got some free money. Enjoy it.
So folks that are listening out there, don't be scared. They're not going, when you file, that's not an additional deduction that you're saying, well, man, I'm losing a piece of deduction and I can't get the return that I was looking for. And that's going to segue us to another topic that we like to talk about. Too many, a lot of folks, especially in Black and brown communities, wait on that tax return. Like, they focus their whole life. And you all advise clients differently, right? To kind of to shift their thinking in their tax process or their financial life process. Go into a little bit about what that approach that you kind of advise clients in.
Well, first, one of the things that I say frustrates me personally, I'm not a tax preparer. I'm a financial advisor by trade. We have bookkeepers, credit, all the rest of that stuff, because it's a holistic approach, right? When you come to us, we're looking at your entire financial makeup. Tax preparation is just one portion of it. And what you alluded to was something, again, that we talk about when we speak to our clients. We let them know, listen, guys, when we're doing your taxes, we're going to ask you a gauntlet. We're going to ask you a lot of questions. And we're also planning. We're not preparing. We want to figure out what your short and long-term goals are, because based on what you tell us, we want to advise you differently. That's the part that makes the difference. So in the Black and brown communities, we hear refund, biggest, happy. End of story, right? And so, like you said, they say, oh, the money's coming. I got to buy a new car. I got to help this person. I got to do that. So it's a plan to spend what you don't even have. So in our clients, we try to help them to say, no. The money that you're getting if you get a refund should be something that is allocated for something else. Either you're dealing with a business, you're investing. That money should be making you money, but it should not be a necessity. And don't get me wrong, we are targeting in our client base is made up of lower to middle class. I want to say black and brown, but honestly, we have such a diverse community of people that it's once you have a mindset, and you see us hashtag all the time, growth mindset, knowledge plus action is power equals power. Once you are one of those candidates, then it works, because if you come in and you're saying, hey, I'm a year-to-year person, I plan and I wait for this $6,000-$7,000 to come, I need the money. That's fine. As long as when you come and we start talking, you download our app, we use mobile apps for the last 7 years, we rarely see our clients, and you talk and we sit there and have a conversation, there's a change in your mindset. The mindset has to be, okay, I used to rely on this. How can I change my financial structure throughout the year to where this money is like a bonus? And that's something that we have to, as a community, understand that it's something that's been implemented a long time ago to keep us exactly where we are, not moving. We're not moving. So we all sit there and hope and pray for this money to come. And it would be fantastic if that money was then reinvested to do something greater. But the truth is that we're so behind financially that we're hoping that the tax refund moves us or catches us back up to zero, which is scary, Jason. It's a scary notion, you know, and that's something, again, we really try hard to work with our clients year round, not just during tax season, year round. We at least try to speak to our clients 4 times a year to figure out where they are in the process. So when, you know, we have a bunch of stories, there's a bunch of, if you go and look at all our reviews, it's always the same thing. They got us here. We're now at a new point. Do you need the advance, Mr. or Mrs.? Not this year. We're good. That's the best part of this business. That's why we are in it. You know what I mean? It's a change, and it's a beautiful thing.
Right. You know, I think part of it is, right, kind of understanding that balance, right? Because, you know, some advisors or some tax professionals, they'll say, you know, your focus is to zero out. And we understand that many people, they're not disciplined savers. No. And I think a lot of times that folks look at that tax return is their savings bump, right? I can speak for myself. This is one of the things that we do. We use that as our push to savings, right? We understand that it's there. We don't use it to go out and buy a new car, buy a computer, buy this. It's saying this is going into savings. And what I'm hearing from you is that the goal is to look at it as an investment tool, or a you know, if you're expecting a refund, if you're not balanced or not disciplined enough to be saving throughout the year, and you have this $7,000 lump sum, to use that as a saving mechanism or an investment tool versus I'm just going to go out and you know, party like a rock star from January to March, and that's why
you see the memes with people, must be tax season. We're culprits. We put them because it's the truth. And Jason, there's a caveat to that. So you're saying it and we're talking and it's the correct on both sides. Back in college days, you know, when we're doing what we're doing, the refund for me was definitely a savings tool. It was a bulk of money, $2-3 grand that came in because of, you know, financial aid, blah, blah, blah. And I would throw it into my savings and say, okay, I'm gonna invest in my Roth maybe, or I'm gonna do this or do that, and play with the cars. You know how that was. And that's good. That's fine. The difference on that thought, though, was it wasn't a necessity for me. If I didn't get that money, it didn't change my life. The problem we're having is that for some people, if that money does not come, it's a life changer. It is you're relying on that income as if it's a guarantee. And that's the issue. If you're using it for savings, for investment, for flip, I don't really care. That's fine if you're not worried about not getting it. Do you understand? And that's the mentality that you have to look for. Even when you drive around, you know, we're in South Florida, you're used to this area, Georgia. If you look at low to middle, really lower income, you see those bandit signs that are plastered all over the place. You know, one child, $93 million, you know, 2 child, they try to grab you. And the thing about it is, even when you're doing, and I'm not going to say names of companies because it is what it is, but when we're partnering with other companies, they literally have a demographic, right? Age, ethnicity, income, what the interests are, and they're going after that group to say, these people want an advance. We're going to get them that advance, and we're going to take a nice chunk of that percentage out of their money. And they're not going to care because the desperation is already there. You understand?
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you, yeah, for us as a business, I again, I can't because of legal. We've been approached by I had a private conversation about this, and I said I couldn't say the names, but 3 pretty big companies that I know everyone knows. And we were like, we want to, but God, take care of this one, because we don't want to take advantage of our people. And that's, I think, the downside to waiting and anticipating that refund. It's nothing wrong with getting a nice refund. Again, that's another we're going to get into that, I'm sure. But it has to be the right element, because also a big refund sometimes symbolizes that you overpaid in taxes. That means that there's money that the government had of yours throughout the year that you couldn't do anything with. And they're not giving you interest on that money. So you got to change that mentality. You got to understand it's a game that's being played.
And that's why we have you on the show, because of the morality part of it, the trust, and because you're in it to make sure that people are doing well. This has been probably the most challenging year of multiple generations, especially financially. Millions and millions of people out of work, looking at different things to do. We had, even before the pandemic, multiple people doing things like ride share opportunities and 1099 type of contract work, and now sharing their car with places like Turo. What should folks in this space that generally had a 9 to 5 where taxes were taken out, and then they might have been doing those things, and now they were solely doing those things, what types of things should they prepare for if this is their first time as a quote unquote entrepreneur, 1099 employee, and taxes weren't coming out? What types of things should they start to think about?
We just set up a business for a doctor, right? I say that again, a doctor who changed, right? Who had the W-2, and because of the situation, still doing well, but rotated into the 1099 market. And that was one of the conversations, like, hey, we got to talk. That's a very, very good question. And it's a very important one for people who are now subcontractors or, self-employed, whatever you want to designate yourself as. You're now not paying into that wonderful world of FICA. Everybody wants to know what is FICA? Like, who is that? And why are they taking all my money, right? So you got your Social Security, your taxes, Medicare, and they are saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. whoever you are, you have not contributed any money to us throughout this time. So when you're working for Uber, Lyft, or whatever the case is, DoorDash, all these companies, and they send you a 1099, which, by the way, I say this year, but this tax season, it's no longer a 1099 miscellaneous. That's on a lot of our posts, but you guys got to make sure you're aware. It's a 1099 NEC. That's never, ever, concerned, but that's what it is now. The IRS changed it. You're going to get this income of 10, 5, 15, 20, and there is no, let's stick with the basics, tax coming out. That means you need to be mentally ready that I have to pay taxes on all this money, when before someone was taking care of it for me. Again, Social Security, and you're also going to be responsible for self-employment tax. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of deductions that can come from that, which your tax preparer, accountant, enrolled agent, whatever, should be able to discuss with you and help you. Hopefully you've been talking to them throughout the year. Again, there goes that planning thing again, because when that started, they should have been like, all right, this is what I need you to do. I need you to get Mile App. Let me know all the miles you've driven. I need you to get a business bank account. Did you set up an LLC? Did you set up an S Corp? Here's what needs to happen. So that way, when this time comes, you guys are in a great position and excited, to be very honest with you all ourselves. And we do, you follow us forever. We target self-employed individuals, whether it's partnerships, whether it's sole proprietorships or single member LLCs. It doesn't matter. As corporations, that's our niche, because we want them to understand the value of being an independent person, because you get all the tax breaks. So again, their job is to really get and find as many deductions, as many expenses as they possibly can, to reduce the amount of taxes that they may owe. And I say may because we don't know what happened on there. We don't know your life. We don't know if you have multiple kids. We don't know what the W-2 situation was, when it happened. But again, keep in mind, all the money you're making from those kind of contract work has no taxes, no FICA, we'll leave it at that, taken out of it. So you're responsible for it.
Yeah, that's very important, right? Because again, people are doing a lot of things to kind of navigate through,
Yeah.
and it's important to kind of manage expectations. I'm one of those people that want to manage expectation moving forward and try to mitigate surprises.
Yeah.
Another big thing, and as you know, my wife works in the banking world,
Yeah.
and she's been unfortunately tasked with auditing PPP loans.
Woo!
Yes, yes, it's a number of those, but there's many small businesses, right, that took out PPP loans, and even I will air quote small businesses that took out PPP loans that are now being audited. But
Yeah.
is there a tax implication for that, for those loans that were taken out during this CARES time and in things like that?
Yeah, well, there's two sides to it. We'll touch on. I know you didn't ask, but the EIDL is another one. So you have two. So you have the PPP side, which there's no real tax implication. That money, there is and isn't. If you, for example, were offered, I don't know, 50,000 is just a nice number, and you got that as a PPP loan, and you followed the guidelines, which we're not going to get into, and utilize the money the way they told you to, when it's time for forgiveness and you're sending that information in, that money does not, I repeat, does not count as income when you file your taxes. Wonderful, right? The part that would hurt you, supposedly, it's still free money, so I don't know why, is you can't use any of the expenses associated with the funds from PPP. So if I paid rent and paid my people, and I use my my payroll services, I can't deduct any of that as an expense. So you get the money, it doesn't count as income, but you cannot report the expenses associated with it. So it is what it is, right? And the other side of that is, which I want to caveat and say they are still working on finalizing this, so it may change. I repeat, they're still working, so it's still changing, guys. Promise, PPP is still changing. The EIDL advances, the loans, grants, whatever you want to call it, the grant portion up to $10,000, people were getting free money on that one, Jay. That's
Right.
backed out of your PPP. So let's say, for example, they gave you 50 grand, but then EIDL gave you that 5,000 free money. You're like, yeah, well, you are still going to have to take the 50,000 and back out 5K, which means they're only forgiving 45,000. So $5,000 you're liable for on the PPP side. That is something that a lot of small businesses were not prepared for, including us. And we're following it all the time. We knew it, we know it, but we're like, oh, please change. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal, but it is definitely something that when you're thinking, people who have 100,000, 150 and 10K of it because they have per employee is there. And now they're on the string for 10,000. That's, so again, they're still working on it. That's one of the changes that we're assuming is going to occur. But as for right now, when you file, again, you'll find out when, like your wife is doing, they're going to get that notice like, yeah, you're forgiven, but you owe us X amount of dollars. And so that's big PPP.
And that's some of the things that we're really trying to prepare folks for. We're having candid conversations is not always about topics that are impacting society as a social justice movement or education, but this is understanding, having a candid conversation with someone that helps us look at not only our financial literacy but our family literacy, right? Because when we're talking about tax preparation and just your financial health, this is just an important topic. So, next, as we go transition in, like, is this tax season different? Should you have different, documentations? If let's just say you work regularly, right? Mm-hmm. Those 9-to-5ers, the W-2 employees that, they may have challenged because they didn't send their kid to daycare because of COVID and different things like that. Is this tax season totally different? What should some of the documents that folks should be thinking about getting prepared for?
The biggest thing for us as a company, and as we reach out to most of our clients, was to remind them, and through social media as well, to please wait for documentation. This year is a documentation year. It is a please hold and make sure everything is in order. We just did a post, I can't remember, a couple of days we post so often, that was one of the checklists is grab all things, wait for number one, if you had unemployment, that 1099-G, because people are not prepared for that. And so they're like, oh, we're filing, here's our W-2s, here's our whatever. And they're like, wait, there's other income, right, that was coming in, because a lot of people, right, millions were collecting unemployment. And again, it goes into, were you taking taxes out, were you not? But either way, that's income that has to now be reported. And if you're not familiar with it, that's another form that has to come in. So that's number one. The other part of it, Jason, is a lot of people were in and out of jobs or hunting for jobs, which means that there's a gambit, right? There's going to be a bunch of W-2s, right? So you need to prepare and figure out how many jobs you and your spouse or your children had, right? List it and wait for those W-2s, or go online if it's like that, and make sure you have it, as well as the 1099s that are coming in. And that's really, to us, the most important. The change in the tax season really isn't going to be that big of a difference. Of course, healthcare. I don't know why I missed that. If you were part of the marketplace 1095As, guys, don't forget those forms. Because I think what's going to happen this year is the IRS is still backed up. You know, if people don't understand, they are quote unquote open, but the majority of people are working from home, just like we are. They're normal people, right? And so they are inundated with work. We talk to them on a regular, unfortunately. And at the end of the day, they are looking at this tax season with eyes closed because they are terrified. They're still working on April and May, and we just spoke with them last week, right? So you got to put that in perspective. Yeah, wow. Because the shift stopped from filing and processing tax returns to getting out, right? The advances. We got to get the money out to people, right? Because the stimulus checks are more important. So that means that a lot of people are getting letters. Hey, you owe us this, you owe us that. And you're sitting there like, wait, we never even got one letter, but that's because the system, the switch got turned on and it's normally processing. So you're going to be dealing with a lot this year. So your goal is to not have them hold up your tax refund. If that's what you want, guys, you have to take the time to gather all the information, make sure everything is there, because if you haven't experienced it this year, you have people that filed in March and April, Jason, that forgot the healthcare information, forgot a job, a W-2, and they're just getting letters right now that say, hey, we can't release this because this is what we just found out. So if they're still working on last year, this last tax season, right, what's going to happen next year, guys? You're going to be calling your tax preparer every day. Oh my gosh, where is it? And they're going to be like, we don't have an answer, So that, to us, it's just preparation is the biggest deal this year. You really have to know where you stand and make sure you get all the documents together before you file.
So the key takeaway I would take away from that is hurry up and wait. Right? Hurry up and wait. So, I know a lot of folks in the past, they will say, I'm just going to file based off of my last paycheck of 2020. And, they go to these other organizations and they'll say, yeah, we can just do it. All you need is your last paycheck of 2020 and you go through. If you hear anything today, especially from Craig at TQ Financial Services, is wait for your documentation. Yeah. Wait for your W-2, wait for your statements from any unemployment, wait for your 1099 forms from any side contract businesses that you had, wait for your healthcare paperwork, wait for your documentations, right? Because what ends up happening, guys, if you don't wait, you'll wait even longer.
Oh, you will.
You're redoing the process, right? I had a middle school civics teacher, and I remember this, Mr. Ward, wherever you are in this world, like he always said, do it right the first time and you will work less.
Amen.
This stuck with me to this day. Middle school civics teacher, grown man now. Do it right the first time and you will work less. So I tell you guys, if you heard anything from Craig in that last piece of the segment, wait for your documentation.
Yeah.
I know that it's hard, and that's the big piece, right? So many people are challenged. We talked about kind of waiting for that income tax return and investing it, but we know there's so many millions of people across this country right now that they need some relief. Yep. There's not been a second round of stimulus checks and different things like that. So they're going to be chomping at the bits to get this documentation filed as quickly as possible. Yep. But if you don't want your stuff held up, make sure you have every piece of paperwork And we know it's hard. We know that so many people are suffering, but make sure you wait. But one thing I can tell you, these guys at TQ Financial Services, they do an amazing job. This is generally not an advertisement show, but this is one of the shows that I just want you guys to know, especially now, you don't want someone to steer you along, to say, oh yeah, we can do this and make it work, and then you're in a world of hurt later on. We call those the tax farms, where they're just farming in documentations and pushing paper and different things like that. These folks really care, and they work all across the country, right? They can do some amazing work for you on your behalf. So, take the time and wait. One of the things that you talked about earlier during the campaign season, right, was the Biden tax plan. We had folks saying that folks will be paying 70 and 80%, 60, 70, 80% tax. Can you kind of go in a little bit about what that looks like? Because, there's some people that will be looking at this, they're still scared of what the potential Biden tax plan will look like. Talk about that. And most of those people are scared. That one thing you said on your video, y'all don't make $400,000.
Yeah, I think, and that's the, Jace, before we jump on, I will get on that. That, again, part of this for us is trying to get people in a better position. And prior to the COVID, we do a lot of workshops and talk and blah, blah, blah. I try to get people on a financial literacy tip. And when, I forgot the percentage, 75, 80% of Americans don't have more than $500 in their bank account prior to COVID. That should be a wake-up call to people, prior to all this horrible pandemic stuff happening. And the reason I mention that is because now that something hit that really hurts us financially, we say, oh, wow, we weren't prepared because we didn't have any money saved. We didn't have life insurance together. We didn't have all these things. And it's sort of like, well, that's the whole point. You get what I'm saying? And I'm a brown person, so I got to talk from a brown perspective. Other folks in my area, I think you saw the video when I did my neighborhood and what was the categories of my neighborhood. They weren't in the same position as us, Jason. That was not something that was even on there. Like, no big deal. We'll buy another car next week and we'll go on a vacation. It didn't affect them because it's a different realm. So I'm just begging people to understand that. Take the opportunity to really reevaluate your financial position and plan better. Now, the Biden thing bothered me because I kept seeing, and Sebastian and Pat, shout out you guys, kept seeing, and we talked like, why are people acting as if this tax increase was going to, and I mean, it's an increase, was going to affect them. So we kept seeing people saying, oh, well, listen, I'm going to vote this way because if he comes into office, he's raising the prices from, I remember 36% to 39%. He's doing this, we're going to get taxed when we do stocks. And it's like, what? First of all, the increases, that's why I said, if you know people that are making 400,000 or more, because that's who it starts to affect at those high rates, tell them to come talk to us. That's one. If you're investing in stocks and you make over $1 million, then you get affected. Everyone else, it's irrelevant. It stays exactly how it was, Jay. That's a mind-boggling thing for us because people broadcast incorrect information. We just get excited and say, "Oh, I can't imagine what's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen in your life." Absolutely.
It's interesting. It's interesting, right? On the last show, Candid Conversation show, we talked about, are we too busy chasing success that we forget to live, right? And in that show, I put up a statistic. The median household income for America, household, not just individual person, is $68,000.
$70K, Jay. $70K.
The whole household.
For the whole household.
This is not mom, dad, what have you. This is $68,000 for America. This is not for Black America. This is not for Brown America.
Did you look at Black and Browns?
No, I didn't. I just did the median household income. I did median household income. Yeah. And so I just wanted folks to understand, like, when we're talking about potential increases in taxes, then this is not about politics. This is literally about understanding and having a realistic understanding of expectation, right? We're $68,000 for the median. That means most people are not making 100. Only 12% of the population makes between 100 and 200,000 median collective population, right? So we have to be very careful about what we ingest and we take in as quote unquote the gospel and how that really impacts us. And I'll just tell this from personally.
Yeah.
If I am starting to make, and with my great advisor Craig White, we start bringing in, $1 million plus a year, 4, 5, 10 million, Mackenzie Scott type of giving away $4 billion a year, right? I'm happy to pay my fair share of taxes, right? But for all of you, I want you all to know that you're not in that category. As much as you dream and you think that you're in that category, the majority of the people in this country are not in that category, and you're not going to be taxed at that high rate. There are a few people. We know a couple.
It is, right? Definitely, we do.
We know a couple.
And if you back up to 2018 when the implementation of the tax law changes came in, and I want to touch on that because you're talking about taxation and et cetera, and people were automatically freaking out because they were like, wait a second, the standard deduction is double. They didn't understand what that meant, and we're losing this exemption and we're losing that, and why is this happening? And we were trying to explain to people that's one thing I need people to understand as what standard deductions are, right? Why they matter, what itemized deductions are and why they matter. And it's important because, and I'll try to sum it up easy, Jay. When you're making money, and let's say your house brought in, we'll use 100,000. That's not normal, but the whole household brought in 100,000. What used to happen would be that the government would say, we're going to give you a standard. That means that normal world's view or US view is we're going to give you this amount of money that takes away from what you made. If you made 100,000 and the standard deduction, to keep it simple, it wasn't, but was $10,000 for a married couple, that means you guys would not be responsible for paying taxes on 100. It would go down to 90. Makes sense, right? If you had kids, they would give you, I'm telling wrong numbers because I don't want to give you the 8,500 and 12,000 because it's going to be annoying, 5,000 per child, and you had 2 kids, that means another 10K. So now you're only paying taxes on 80. And remember, if you're W-2, you were taking taxes and stuff out. That's how people were saying, okay, wow, I get some refund. Yeah, because they give you child tax credit, education credit, additional child tax, all types of stuff. Fine.
Right.
When Trump's policies came into play, he got rid of all those exemption things. But he doubled, or their candidacy doubled the standard deduction. So if it went from 10 to 20. So people were like, we don't know what that means. Well, that means that you're not going to get all those little individual exemptions, but he doubled it. So it's a win, realistically, for the majority of Americans, because itemized deduction coming into play means that, hey, thank you for that 10 or 15 or 20,000 that you're giving me, right? Thank you. But my household pays more in additional taxes than what you're telling me I deserve. And that's what itemized. So I'm going to bet on myself. So when your preparer is putting in these ratios and they're saying, okay, mortgage interest and this and that principal and blah, 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 tax, tithing and offering and everything you're putting in. And they say, hey, Jason got 10,000 or 20,000, right, in standard deduction. His household did. But when we look at it, Jason, you guys contributed actually 25,000 in itemized. We're going to go with the itemized structure. The reason I brought that up is when everything got changed over and people were going crazy because the refunds were a little bit less. You remember that? And they were saying, how is it possible? I don't get it. And we were trying to explain, well, first of all, your tax brackets got lowered, which means you paid less taxes throughout the year and your checks got fatter, but you didn't pay attention to it because it was only by $5, $6, $10. Right. The thing that was important for us to understand and for people to note based on this whole Biden decision and what was going on with his campaign is 98% of the people in the U.S. standard deduction. That means that you didn't bring in enough in additional taxes for it to affect your life. You get what I'm saying, Jay? So at the end of the day, nothing really affects the majority of us, right? What is it? 10% of the people control 100% of the world, whatever it is. So
Right.
what we are, and me included, Jason included, the majority of people, our job, which you brought up, and I want you to elaborate on this, is to reduce the amount of taxes that you owe, maximize your return, because it's all the same, right? It really is. Either you get a big refund or you pay a lot or nothing. That should be the mindset of everyone, but not because you're trying to cheat the system. It's because they're trying to utilize what the system offers, which, God, please forgive me, that's what Trump did supposedly in his taxes. I know everybody wasn't happy. My wife and I had a big, debacle about why I said that, but I'm like,
That's the business. If you read, if you understand the tax code, if you do all those things well, you limit your responsibility, right?
Correct.
And this is how the wealthy stay wealthy, because they understand the loopholes. They understand how these things work, and they have a discipline, or they have advisors that discipline them to make sure that they're doing these things. And what you alluded to before, right? We especially in Black and brown communities, we're starting at a disadvantage and we're playing catch up. So it's harder to get into that discipline space, right? That you're saying, you know what? I'm not looking for that bonus, right? Because if you look at it, many Black and brown folks work in government type of work, or they work in public sector, social service, a low wage earning. So they're not getting corporate bonuses. They're not looking at the end of the day, at the end of the year, that their bonus or their stock options and different things like that. So we're trying to navigate through these things. But what you can do is, once you know, you can add a little piece to that puzzle to move you to that next level. We're
Jason,
go ahead.
But that mentality is taught. You get what I'm saying? So I'm Jamaican, right? And I say that because it's different for me, because growing up in Jamaica, I'm seeing brown people, right?
Right.
That have established themselves in every position known to man.
Right.
Coming into the US as an African American, it was a different understanding. So culturally, I'm noticing exactly what you said. Oh, government, postal, this. Why are these the jobs that everybody wants? To me, it was a training thing. My father would never allow us, ever, because you are setting your sights too low, or you're just trying to stay comfortable enough, right? Which I don't understand it. But the reason I'm saying that is because when you're stuck in a W-2 job, whatever it is, whatever the job is, I don't care what it is, nursing, I don't care, architect, you cannot compete with an entrepreneur. So if you are trying to do better at taking advantage of the tax code, it's written for real estate investors. I repeat that, real estate investors and any entrepreneur. That's what it is. So you'll notice that there will be W-2 employed people, a lot of ours, but we teach them, you need to open a business. What are you spending your money on? Okay, make it work for yourself, because you can do both. And that shift has to occur, because you want to take all the advantages that it offers. So there's nothing wrong with working for someone. There's nothing wrong with having a 403B from the government. Love those. I can't even say anything. Great pension plans. It's fine. But if you only stay in that segment, you cannot compete. We're still so far behind. You'll never be able to put yourself and put your kids and generations in a position where we're competing. And that's the problem. We're not competing, Jason. We're not competing at all.
It's interesting what you talked about, a couple of things that is a great segue. But, what I tell people, my 9 to 5 is my silent financial investor, right? They just happen to not know it. They happen to not know that they're my silent financial investor. However, and that's the balance, right? I don't tell people to jump out into entrepreneurship with no parachute, because you have responsibilities. If I didn't have a wife and kids and different things like that, I could do that. But you also mentioned another thing, growing up in Jamaica. I'm blessed to have a different perspective as well, right? I grew up as the African American, but my wife, she was born in Ethiopia, raised in Sweden. So she has a different perspective that brings into our household about success and achieving success. So we're able to, we both have businesses, clearly, because you do our taxes. And, we both work at a 9 to 5.
Right.
But as those entrepreneurs, and that's where the segue is coming to, right? As an entrepreneur, what are some of the things that people who have navigated through this challenging 2020 and may say, you know what, this is the perfect time for me to start their business.
It is.
This is the perfect time. As most folks know, my wife does custom furniture. She's out doing
amazing custom furniture. Let's requote that. And people call me the Grinch. That should tell you something in my So I don't give compliments when it's not necessary. Honestly, Jay, her stuff is phenomenal. It really is.
Appreciate it. She's out there right now. You probably might hear some buzzing. She's sanding some in my background. She's sanding some barn doors. But, part of those things, like, what are some of the things if a person is just starting out, right? They may have just started their LLC and they're buying some supplies. What types of things should they do? I know you spoke about opening a bank account, but what if they're not even ready to get to the business bank accounts phase? What's some of the things that those budding entrepreneurs should do right now to make sure that they're not falling into those holes?
Great question. Funny, because I'm literally just finishing a book called The Biggest Book of Small Business Deductions, right? And hopefully it'll be out on Amazon on the next couple of days. I know you didn't know that, but funny, right? Tag. So
you got a book for us?
Of course.
You just wrote it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I didn't tell you. I didn't finish.
Guys, I'm taking a 20-second timeout, right? We used to hoop together. We lived in the same house together. This dude, we talk like family. And this dude not told me he wrote
quiet is kept, my brother. And so it was, it's in the works. I wanted it out a couple of weeks ago, but making sure everything is fine tuned. But it's because, again, a lot of our clients are small business owners. That's who we try to push and tell people, if you're not one, become one. And so I'll answer the question. The biggest thing we found is that people just don't understand small businesses, and they think that it is overly complex when it comes to the tax code. And it isn't, guys. So the first part where you asked, if someone started a small business, what should they do if they're not ready for, let's say, a business account, credit card, etc. I want to tell you, you better be ready, right? So the difference in having a hobby, which is what the IRS lists, and having a business is actually the pursuit of earning income, right? You're actively pursuing to earn money. You want to make some money. So you can't take losses more than 3 out of the 5 years. That's one. And two, you got to register the business. So in other words, if you're having a whatever business it is, a clothing business, and you say, hey, well, I'm just stitching a couple of garments, I'm just doing whatever the case is, I'm not ready for it. Well, what you're doing is opening yourself up to liability, and you're opening yourself to a lawsuit. The reason why people file an LLC, a corp, whatever it is, which, S corp, C corps are just forms of LLCs. The reason you don't stay, right, as a sole proprietor who is not registered a business, you have to register that business, is because you don't understand that if something happens, you are now liable as the person and not the business. So you're filing that LLC because you want to separate the business from the personal. That's all it is. So you're spending the $100 and something to make sure that you stay safe. That's number one, Jason. So you got to do it. You got to do it.
All right, I'm going to pause you so we can let folks know.
Yeah.
It's very easy. The Secretary of State in any state, that's where you file for that LLC. In Georgia, it's $100. In Florida, I think it's $120 for the first year.
If you do an LLC.
Right, it's just LLC, and it's a very easy process. So if you have questions, you can see right there. You can reach out to folks at TQ Financials that help you walk you through that process. But I just wanted to pause you right there so folks can know that that is not something that you have to hire someone to do to file that paperwork, because yes, that is a business where people help you start your businesses and different things like that, and they'll charge you. But I'll say that this is something, especially for folks that are trying to start right now, you can do this by yourself. It's going to cost you $100 to start it in most states.
Yeah. And we do it for people all the time, and we charge, or we try to walk through, and a lot of services, even credit repair, we offer that. And if you ever go on our website, we tell people, hey, this is all stuff you can do, right? But if you don't have the time, or if you're
There's their website right
there it is. Hey, if you don't have the time to do it, right?
You see, I'm quick with it. I'm quick with it. Yeah.
If you don't have the time to do it, small business setup is something that we offer, and we do. And we don't charge an arm and leg. We really don't. The reason we offer it is because we go a little bit further. We're going to go and look at trademark infringements, et cetera, to avoid, right, the onslaught that may come by you choosing the wrong name. But other than that, Jason, 100%, it's not rocket science, right? Which is why we don't charge $1 million. But we want to make sure you're set up. And then the real money for us, the reason you're paying us, is the conversation. Because we're going to talk about everything. Here's what we want you to do. Here's what the deductions are going to be. Here's what your mindset is going to be. It's a good talk, and it's a continuous talk, not just from the beginning, but from the setup all the way through to, God's willing, tax time, because we're trying to make sure we provide the services, again, as a holistic basis. So Jay, yes, the setup is crucial, not just for taxes, because I don't care about that part right now. It's a mentality that you're protecting yourself. Guys, you don't want to get a lawsuit. That's why people file that. So the other part of it is, you're talking about deductions. That's a deduction. It's an expense. So spend the 70, the 100, the 125, whatever it is, because it's just going to come right back. It's not a big deal, right? And as you move forward, the second most important part is keep your personal and your business completely separate. That's why we urge people to go ahead and open a business bank account. You have to get an EIN number, which we do as well, right? And then
that's free.
Yeah, and it's free, right? So we do that, and we take that EIN and we attach it to your state, so that way you have that correlated. So the IRS and the state, they do talk, by the way, in case people don't know that, they understand what your business is and what the purpose of it is, and it's still active, which is a huge important thing. And then once that happens, guys, you go to the bank with your articles of incorporation, 9 out of 10, that's what they require. You have your EIN, you say, hey, I want a business credit card, and charge. If you don't have that, then at least separate one card to use for business. And the reason is because at the end of the year, guys, when you see your financial statement, the end of the year statement, they're going to categorize it. They're going to tell you where everything falls in. You did this for food, you did this for that, and you have your expense sheet, right? So it's up to your preparer to then say, okay, cool, this is what I need to do. Or, hey, guys, I'm going to teach you, which we do, how to make a profit and loss. It's very simple. At least we make it simplified for you. And you have your presentation of now learning, which is part of the process. Here are all the deductions you get. This is what it means. You're going to spend the money anyway, right? So at least get the advantages, or, take the advantages from the deductions that you're going to get for spending the money for your business, right? But make it a business. Make it a business, because that's where it all comes down to. You got to take advantage of all the things the government's given you.
Absolutely. This is. We packed a lot in an hour. Yeah, we packed a lot of information in an hour. But honestly, if you guys want some folks that do some amazing work, they're not the cheapest in the business, right? Yeah, I'm just going to let you know, they're not the cheapest in the business, but the value for what you're getting, and someone that's going to be beside you throughout the process. Yeah, and they're not the most expensive either. No,
not even close. Yeah.
Listen, I'm doing this. I want you guys to know, reach out to Craig, Sebastian, and the team at TQ Financial Services. They will take care of you. They will walk you through the process. They probably spend too much time talking folks through the process and then helping you understand. From the business strategy side, I will tell them that they may do too much hand holding, but that's some of the things that I think we need. Reach out to them. Let them know that you heard about this through Candid Conversations. They'll take care of you. I put it on myself, right? So you can call me up and say, Craig and the folks, they screwed me over. I know that's not going to happen. So, I'll back it. But Craig, I appreciate you for getting on to talk about this most important thing right now, getting ready for tax season, right? Because there's so many questions that people may have that they are fearing because of this. 2020 has just been crazy. Yeah. Give them all the information right now, how to reach out to you. I have it on the screen, but how to follow you, how to the best time to get in contact with you. How, if it's an app, if it's the whatever, just tell them how to reach out.
So of course, as you guys see, we have our you can go to our website, www.tqfinancials.com. All of the information is on there. You can contact us, 800-413-1456. Any of the gentlemen will be able to help you. Email us at info@tqfinancials.com. And we're on all social media platforms, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. You just search TQ Financial Services and you should be able to find us. We have free mobile apps, right? COVID being a time where people don't want to get in contact. We've had a mobile app, like I mentioned in the beginning, for probably 7 years. I think it's between 6 or 7 years. 85% of our clients we've never seen because it was based on convenience, right? So download simple, safe, secure. That's one of the things we've been doing forever, guys. It's there, it's free. Download it, Google Store, Apple or whatever the case is, Apple, Google Play. You can download it for free. Send all your documents over. 24 to 48 hour turnaround time. Full conversation like Jason and I are having now. Candid conversations about your finances and where you are. No obligation. We look over it, tell you where you stand. And you can go from there. And one more thing I want to make sure I say, I learned a long time ago. I'll start the quote. I don't have to finish it. And if you think it's expensive to hire a professional, wait until you hire and I'll stop. So I learned that a long time ago. You get what you pay for. So yeah, we're not the most expensive. Definitely not. We're very reasonable and not the cheapest because we've learned what that leads to. So again, guys, bang for your buck and value for your dollars. Jason, yes, we do handhold. In the beginning, we do handhold because we want people. Again, it's if you love what you do, right? That's what say will never work again, and we love it. We want our people, black, brown, white. It doesn't honestly matter as long as you have a growth mindset. We want to be able to give you the platform to do more, and not because we're hoping to be millionaires and we're going to help. What we're really hoping is that the information you're giving or we're giving, you give to someone else. It's a cycle. We're begging our clients, don't hold it. We thank you for the reviews. Thank you for 5-star ratings. It's all we ever get, but give it to other people. Not for just share the knowledge, share it out there, because if everyone gets it, man, the world would be such an amazing place right now. But when you have great information, a lot of people bottle up. Anything negative, they spew it out. So people do differently. So that's all it is.
Well, Craig, I just want to thank you. The Candid Conversation family thanks you.
Thank you.
Part of this is, and I'm one of those customers. I have never been into their offices
ever. You come to my house when you come in town.
Right. Like, I've never been to their offices. We send our information. We go through. We get a call now and say, hey, this is what's going on, blah, 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 any questions? Because thankfully we don't have to go through the hand-holding anymore. But they will take care of you. And just like this, they have these candid conversations with you to get you to the place that you need to be. I'm excited. I'm thankful that folks are able to get this information. But this has been Candid Conversations, brought to you by one institution in the Own the Vision Academy and our new sponsor and partner, EGS Solutions. Again, if you need anything from project management to brand strategy, web development, IT solutions, reach out to EGS and emgt.com. And they can help you out. But again, Craig, I appreciate you. Tell the wife I said hello. I love her. Kiss Liam for us. Guys, we appreciate you. Until next time, this has been Candid Conversation. I'm your host, Jason Warner. Talk to you next time. Peace.